All right, let's jump into another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about Zoe Appleton's Claimed by My Boss.
Ooh, exciting.
It is. This one's a romance novel set in Sterling City, and I have to say I was hooked from the very first page.
I can see why there's a lot going on in this one.
Yeah, you've got love, danger, technology, all colliding in this fast-paced world.
Fast-paced is right. We've got this classic enemies to lovers trope going on between Zephyr, he's a tech CEO, but he's also got some baggage.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then Harper, she's his assistant, incredibly loyal and capable.
But their relationship is, let's just say it's a little strained.
Very much so. You know, you can really feel that tension, especially with everything Zephyr is dealing with.
Right, like the shadow of his brother's death, it's definitely created this distance between them. Appleton really captures how grief can impact relationships.
Absolutely. And then to add even more fuel to the fire, you have these corrupt cops, Davis and Hale.
Ugh, talk of the contrast, right? You've got Zephyr's world, all luxury and cutting-edge technology, and then you've got these guys operating in the underbelly of the city.
And they're not your typical, by-the-book officers.
No, not at all. Driven by greed and, honestly, a pretty twisted sense of justice.
Exactly. And they're convinced they deserve a piece of Zephyr's success.
It's fascinating how Appleton sets up these two worlds, the gleaming skyscrapers and then the grimy streets where Davis and Hale operate.
Creates a ton of tension, for sure. And then there's Olivia Owens, caught right in the middle of it all.
Oh yeah, Olivia. She's a young woman just trying to survive on the tough streets of Sterling City. She gets caught up in the cops' scheme and becomes their pawn, you could say.
Which is heartbreaking because you can see how desperate she is.
Right. She's vulnerable and easily manipulated. But at the same time, she makes choices that have consequences. Tough ones. It makes you think about the choices people make when they're struggling.
Definitely makes you think about survival. Yeah, what people are willing to do. So their plan is basically to use Olivia to get to Zephyr and his company.
Exactly. They're aiming to plant a virus on his groundbreaking AI software, IntelliSight, and then hit him with ransomware.
Talk about high stakes. Holding his entire company hostage. It's a classic cat and mouse game, but with incredibly high consequences.
And here's where things take a really interesting turn. Appleton sets the scene at this glamorous charity gala, and Olivia actually manages to drug Zephyr.
The gala itself is so well described, all that glitz and glamour, but underneath it all, there's this sense of danger.
Oh, absolutely. And while Zephyr's drugged, she tries to steal a thumb drive loaded with crucial data. It's tense. Every move she makes, Officer Davis is right there watching her.
Talk about pressure.
And just when you think she might get caught, she plants a corrupted thumb drive, successfully, setting the stage for the cops' plan to unfold.
But things start to unravel quickly. The virus starts impacting Zephyr's company, and Harper, she starts receiving these cryptic messages threatening Zephyr's life.
Yeah, and it all becomes this race against time. Amidst all the chaos and danger, though, something starts to shift between Zephyr and Harper.
Yeah, that's what I love about this book. It's not just about the suspense and the action.
Exactly. There's a real emotional depth to it. Zephyr, he's vulnerable after being drugged, and he starts to rely on Harper more. We see a different side of him, the man behind the CEO persona.
And Harper, she starts to understand the pain he's been carrying all this time. It's that shared experience that really forces them to confront their feelings for each other, setting the stage for their daring escape.
Which, believe me, is just the beginning of their journey. With the virus wreaking havoc on his company and those threats looming over them, Zephyr and Harper, they're forced to flee. I mean, they literally have to escape their own lives.
Yeah, and it's more than just a chase, right? It's symbolic in a way. They have to shed those carefully constructed personas, Zephyr, the untouchable CEO, and Harper, always the dutiful assistant.
I was just thinking that. It's like they're shedding their skin. And the city, which was just a backdrop before, it becomes this maze full of danger, but also hidden truths.
And isn't it interesting how their true feelings for each other start to come out in this chaotic environment?
Almost like they're forced to be honest with themselves when everything else is stripped away.
Exactly, and they end up in this abandoned warehouse, which is a world away from Zephyr's penthouse.
Yeah, talk about a change of scenery. But the warehouse isn't just a random hiding place, is it? It's like a reflection of their inner turmoil, Dark, echoing this feeling of being trapped.
Oh, I totally see that. All those broken down machines, forgotten dreams, like the past is closing in on them, especially for Zephyr with the loss of his brother.
You hit the nail on the head. It's all connected. And it's there, in that warehouse, their lives literally on the line, that the walls they've built around themselves start to crumble.
Talk about pressure. Their escape leads to a confrontation with Officer Davis, and Harper ends up as a hostage, a gun to her head.
Yeah, that scene was intense. And that's when you see Zephyr change. He's not the cold, calculating CEO anymore. He's just a man, desperate to protect the woman he loves.
He's ready to sacrifice everything, attacking Davis, trying to disarm him. And then a shot rings out. Appleton doesn't shy away from the violence, and you're left wondering who got hit.
My heart was pounding. But then, Harper, she rises, gun in her hand. That image is so powerful. The woman who's always been behind the scenes, she takes charge. She becomes the hero.
It completely flips the damsel in distress trope. She's not waiting to be rescued. She's taking control.
Right, and it's not over yet. Davis is wounded, but he's still dangerous, clinging to this twisted idea of justice. He's like a cornered animal lashing out.
And you can see his descent into madness. He really believes he's the victim. It's chilling.
He lunges at Zephyr, gun aimed. It seems hopeless, but then sirens. Talk about a relief. Turns out Hale, Davis's partner, he had a change of heart, realized how corrupt Davis had become, and he called for backup.
Talk about a twist. It's like a glimmer of hope in all that darkness. The police storm the warehouse, gunfire, chaos, and finally, Davis is down.
It's a violent end, but a necessary one. And Zephyr and Harper, they make it out together. That's the important part. They faced death, they saw the worst of Sterling City, and they came through it. Stronger. Together.
Their escape, it's not just physical, is it? It's like they've broken free from the expectations that were holding them back. All those facades are gone, and they're left raw, vulnerable, but also deeply connected.
Yeah, it's a powerful image. They're not just boss and assistant anymore. They're equals. They face the abyss together, literally, and they found love on the other side. But this story is more than just about their relationship, right? There's a bigger question looming. Zephyr's AI and what it represents. What happens when technology falls into the wrong hands?
We've been talking about Zephyr and Harper, how they found each other amidst all this chaos, but Claimed by My Boss goes deeper than that, right? There's this whole other layer dealing with Zephyr's creation, the IntelliSight AI.
You're so right. It's not just some techie gadget in the background. It represents power. The potential for good and bad, which is exactly why those corrupt cops targeted it in the first place.
They wanted to exploit it, use it to get rich. And that's a scary thought, you know? Because this AI is incredible, it can analyze tons of data, predict patterns, make decisions. It's like something out of the future.
It is, and that's what makes it so vulnerable, too. Appleton raises a really important question. What happens when technology, this powerful, falls into the wrong hands? I mean, this is something we're facing in the real world, too.
Definitely. It's not just a fictional problem. So as AI gets more advanced, what do we do? The novel doesn't give us all the answers, but it makes you stop and think about the ethical side of things.
What kind of safeguards do we need? How do we balance progress with responsibility? Those are some big questions.
And it goes beyond just the technology itself, right? It's about the people behind it, their intentions.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like Zephyr, he created IntelliSight with good intentions, but then you have guys like Davis and Hale, and it becomes a weapon. So for everyone listening, think about that for a second.
Think about how technology is woven into our lives, all the data being collected, the algorithms shaping our choices.
It's almost like we're living in the world of Claimed by My Boss, in a way. And this novel is like a wake-up call, reminding us to be aware, to pay attention to what's happening. It's a story about love and survival, but it's also about the choices we make, both as individuals and as a society, especially when it comes to technology.
Claimed by My Boss is more than just a thrilling romance. It's a story that stays with you, that makes you think. And we hope this deep dive has sparked some of those thoughts for you.
Maybe even inspired you to pick up the book and dive into Sterling City yourself.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. Until next time, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep questioning.